Hey, how's it going, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Improper Critics. I'm, of course, Adam, aka Risen Gaia, here again with my buddy Derek, aka Mr. Jericho. You can, of course, catch us here and over on Twitch by our respective usernames there. But yeah, we're a little behind today, so we're gonna get right up into it.
We're a lot of
And
behind.
we're a lot of behind.
My internet wasn't
Technical
working.
issues
I
abound.
don't know what's going on. And like even now, like I'm having to run off of a hotspot because I don't know what's going on. But it's fine. We are here. We made it work.
That's what matters, right? So we're gonna get into the first story here, and this is one directly from Jericho because it's not really my area. So, what do you got for us?
I don't know. What's the first one on the docket?
I think you want to go over some Overwatch news, right?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah. So for those that don't know, there was a huge update with Overwatch 2 this past week, or not really update, but more of a, hey, this is what our future vision looks like. And I'm super excited for some of the stuff that I saw. Like I know a couple things that stood out. They're introducing like a new perk system, which is very akin to like MOBAs. You know, as you play, you build up some type of currency or experience that you can then redeem for perks. So they have like minor perks, and they have like major perks. It's very like MOBA, but it's also like Paladins. So if you ever played Paladins, it was a free to play shooter, very akin to Overwatch 2. They had a similar system there. So this is everybody's online like, okay, Paladins died, so Overwatch could steal this. But they also have major perks, which I thought was pretty interesting because one example they gave was like Orisa, who in Overwatch 1, she had like a barrier shield, right? Do you remember that? The barrier shield? Well, in Overwatch 2, her left click or whatever, right click is now a spear. And so one of the major perks for Orisa is it actually changes the spear back to the shield, or it empowers the spear. So like, I see what they're going with. I'm actually really excited to see what some of the other things that they are planning on doing. But that's just the first thing. That's just the perks. In any type of variety of gameplay or, making each game more interesting, because you may have to pick a different perk because of your opponent's team composition. Yeah. They're also bringing back loot boxes. Curious to hear what you think about that. So I'll give you a couple of things, a couple of facts. So loot boxes will be in the season pass.
You know what I think about it.
I know what you think about it, but I want to hear you say it. But loot boxes will be in the season pass, and there's some on the free track, there's some on the unfree track, and like there's a guaranteed rarity percentage, and then over time, the more like commons and uncommons you get will lead to more epics and legendary. So they have like a system built in place to where you're guaranteed to get a legendary at some point, which is nice because that was never a thing with the original loot boxes. But yeah, tell me, what are your thoughts on the loot boxes? I know you have plenty to say about that.
So yeah, because we're gonna skip over a lot of the add-in stuff because honestly, I gave up on Overwatch. Like I think I used to play with you guys sometimes, and even then it was a game where it's like I don't play on my own. I'll hop in and play with y'all when you're playing. That was like year one of Overwatch 1, so I don't even know these characters. But I mean, loot boxes are the same as they've always been. I don't like them. I think there's better ways to be rewarding in a game, and especially as long as loot boxes can be purchased in any kind of game like that, then there's going to be an inherent downgrading on the earning it side. Because I know we were going to say, oh, you can play and earn it. Yeah, but even then, it should be faster. Same thing with like Assassin's Creed and, why are you buying upgrades and skill points? Well, because if you buy those, then they're going to make it slower because it's a money incentive to make it slower.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to speak too specifically on their loot boxes, although I will say that as much as I dislike loot boxes, we all know Overwatch is a big part of why they like infested games as strong as they did for the time frame that they did. They're not quite as much of a thing anymore. You know, they're a bit more pulled back these days, but
you don't really see them very often. Yeah.
Not much, because it became a thing where, especially like with me, if your game said, oh, loot boxes, I'm like, oh. There's one game out there, one game that I will say has done a loot box-ish thing, and that is Borderlands. And you can't buy those.
Yeah, with
that's keys. Just following the community, and they put out random keys. You can go in there and just get them.
Yeah, like, it's a good system. But think about that feeling, right? When you open a loot box and you get something really good. Like I think that's the thing. Like there's definitely a dopamine hit whenever you pull something awesome. And that's one of the things that like Lenzers, my wife, she loved about Overwatch 1 is she loved getting something rare from a loot box. And so I think there is that type of community that actually prefers loot boxes. And I know like she was upset they took it away, which I thought was crazy, right? Because I'm the type of person, if I want a skin, I'd rather just get that skin, right? I don't want to have to go through the odds of getting random skins. But I think it should be interesting to see how they implement it. Outside of that, there's also a new third-person mode in Overwatch. And I tried to watch some of the gameplay, but it was on Wednesday and it was super late and I just didn't get an opportunity. I can't tell if it's a MOBA style, kind of like Deadlock, which I think if it is, that'd be really cool because I really like Deadlock. And I can imagine Deadlock with the characters that I already know in Overwatch, not to mention like the community that we have that still plays Overwatch. That might be something that could be really successful with our group specifically. But I think I need more information about that mode because I know it's third person. I kept hearing people say it was similar to MOBA, but when I was looking at the gameplay, I did not see 3 lanes. I did not see like NPCs that you were killing to earn points. So I don't know where the MOBA comparison's coming from, but maybe I just missed that. So I don't know. But I'm excited to see. Case in point, a lot of changes are coming to Overwatch, and I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are. Do you think that they are trying to salvage the game? Because let's be honest, Marvel Rivals really hit them.
I think it's very much in a state of like, I don't hear about Overwatch anymore.
Yeah.
And you know what? And I get that I'm not in the Overwatch community like that, but there are plenty of games that break out and you hear about them beforehand. I used to hear all kinds of Overwatch news because it was just so massive. And the fact that it's died down to a point where if you're not in that bubble, you don't really get too much of that, static that you used to. I think it's not what it once was, which is fine. Games don't have to last forever. Honestly, like I like games that you can complete, get something out of it, and move on. Not that it can't be, ongoing things and have longer shelf lives and stuff like that. But like, that's just not I've never been much for the kind of just repeat cycle game like that. There's very few exceptions. And that one never held me. I mean, Rivals has the benefit of having some of my favorite like fictional characters ever included in there.
For sure.
And even that doesn't really hold me. That right there is just the current game where it's like, oh, if you guys are playing, I'll play with you. But otherwise, I'm probably playing,
anything else.
Something else.
Yeah, I get it.
Exactly. And for me, games like that, it's just the reward isn't there for me.
Yeah.
Like Fortnite, I don't like the game itself. I don't play it. I have to learn it. I did tell my son, I made a promise that we're gonna do a stream thing with me and him, letting him teach me how to play. So we're gonna do that at some point. But I don't really care for the game. And I don't really like the what are those things called? The season passes, not season passes, the
battle passes or
battle passes.
Yeah.
That's it. Battle passes. I don't really like the battle passes all that much, but it's still, to me, it's still better than the loot boxes. There's still a grind there. There's still a progression, earning, stuff like that. And I mean, again, if you like it, I love it. That's how I always see it. I don't hate on anybody. I don't like the business model personally, but if you're enjoying it,
why not?
No shade on you.
Yeah,
have fun
for sure.
But I'm not going to be there.
And I think I'm excited because I love Overwatch. I love the characters in Overwatch. We've been playing it since the open beta. I think there was open beta. I can't remember I don't know if it was open beta or if we just bought it on release. Either way, we were early adopters. Loved the first one. Loved the second one. Not a big fan of the 5v5, but then we went back to 6v6 and I'm like, okay, I actually do like 5v5. So I have a very roller coaster relationship with Overwatch. But it is something that, if I want to play a game with the kids, it's a perfect one because we can play against bots. There's no pressure. It's just fun. So I'm excited to see.
It's one of those games that, you got into, I didn't, because it works that way sometimes.
For sure.
I mean, I know on the flip side, one thing I want to talk about a little bit today, and one that I know you're not quite as into in the way that I am, would be the Civilization games.
Yeah.
And
this is all you, buddy.
Civ 7 dropped. Yeah, I know. Civ 7 dropped. I gotta say, here's my opinion of Civilization as it is, right? Each game is not always, a lot of games it's kind of a progression, and there is some of that there. You can see it in how the games come out and stuff, but they are kind of each their own little games. They each have their own different rules, different things they do in there. Some people are playing Civ 6, some people are playing Civ 5. My personal favorite is Civ 4, and I have, a little miniature version of it on my Vita that I still play sometimes. Like Civ 4, you could stack armies and stuff like that. It was awesome, and each one kind of has its own thing to offer. Civ 7, bought it, played about 45 minutes and refunded it. Because the thing that this one is bringing in that it offers is it's just not what I want in the Civ game. I'm hoping they'll make some adjustments, and I do want to pick it up again later and hopefully be more satisfied with it. But it just was not giving me what I wanted from Civilization. The whole changing like your civilization over time thing, which is kind of the big gimmick here. I don't know, gimmick feels like the wrong word because it seems like they're trying to do something and it's just not what people want. But because I know you don't really play them, so basic rundown. You start off, you pick your leader. Your leader is connected to a civilization, and you go from ancient times all the way up through the modern and future times with that person. Now, you pick your leader, and then you pick a civilization. So they may not even match up with their necessary, like where they were actually the leaders of. And then I think it's 2 times throughout the game, it basically has you change civilizations. And I don't know. It's not what I want. I want, my favorite character that I play, I always choose the leader, Teddy Roosevelt, go America, because then you get to the modern age, you get the Mustang F1 or F-15s and everything like that, whatever they are, like that's my path. But now it switches things up in a way that doesn't make me want to invest in it. Because I feel like, my civilization now is going to end and some new one's going to take over, even though it's technically still me. It just doesn't feel right. I don't know. It didn't vibe with me. I hit return, got it back.
So you legit just returned it from Steam, like you didn't.
Yeah, okay. And I've never done that on a Civilization game. Like I will say, I do want it to get better, but again, I still think of Civilization in a different kind of way, right? Like it's not necessarily progression. It's kind of what style of play do you want to play? Do you want old school Monopoly, or do you want, modern Monopoly? Do you want like the Monopoly that has a little cell phone thing in it, the banker Monopoly, whatever it is? Like they have all these different versions of the same game, and you get to pick which one. This new one is just not a version that's really quite to my flavor. So,
well, I know that stinks for you because you were really looking forward to it. Like when we were talking about games coming out this season, like I have to sneeze. No, okay, we're good. But we were talking about games coming out this season. You were really that was up there. That was like one of your most anticipated games.
It was meant to be a day one. I didn't quite get it day one. Just stuff, but it eventually, because we were sitting here and it was my wife. She was the one who was like, "I want to play the new Civilization." I'm like, well, it's on there. Yada yada yada. We did it, and even she played for like 20 minutes. She was like, "Yeah," and she's somebody who I've literally been like, "Okay, I'm going to lay down." She's like, "All right, I'm just going to finish up this," and woken up at like 3:00 in the morning. She's still sitting over there playing, because that's the kind of game that Civilization could really be. Like, just lose hours. You don't even realize you're like, I'm gonna do one more round, and then all of a sudden it's 4 hours later, and you're like, oh, I've destroyed the world, and the sun's coming up. That's kind of game it normally is, and this one was just didn't have that. So hope there's better things in the future for that. But at this point, it kind of just is what it is. If you were asking me, I would recommend anybody who's interested, anybody who is into Civilization, maybe hold off on that one for a while, see what adjustments they make going forward. But
and for the record, I apologize for you, because I know that's heartbreaking. I've been there with games coming out where I'm like waiting, and I'm looking forward to it months, years at times, and then it drops, and I'm like, it was so disappointing. So
and it's one thing when it's a short game you can play through real quick and be like, oh, that wasn't great. But like Civilization is a game where, you look on my Steam, the amount of hours that it shows for Civilization, just 6, not even like counting the ones before, just 6. There's like 700-800 hours on there or something like that. Some of that is my wife, admittedly, but we played a lot.
It's a lot.
So that was disappointing.
Well,
but fortunately, there are some sequels out there that aren't quite looking so bad. So Now I started playing the Monster Hunter Wilds beta on the first one because my work schedule, I don't get to play a whole ton. I'm hoping to get some game time in today, but you finally got to play this weekend. So
I did.
What are your thoughts?
Oh, that's a lot to break down. So yeah, if you caught the stream yesterday, I streamed for about 4 hours. Played like maybe the first hour by myself, just doing like the initial tutorial. And then I spent an hour trying to get you all into a group. And that is like it's an awful system. But I'll save that for later. So my initial impressions, I love the game. Obviously I'm getting it. It's still my most anticipated game. That is going to consume me when it comes out. I'm planning a full weekend stream. So super excited about that. The combat is just as good as I thought. I really love the focus mode. I love being able to like aim my attacks. Yesterday I was playing with the greatsword. I enjoyed that. I don't think that's going to be for me. I'm probably going to go back to the hammer. It's just what I do. It's what I always do. But I feel comfortable with it. So I'll probably go back to the hammer. And I think I'm going to try to play some today to just kind of get back into the hammer, bro. But anyway, love the combat, love the creatures, love the open zone approach. There's still a lot of questions that I have. I am not happy with some of the UI elements or some of the design decisions when it comes to like multiplayer. I spent a lot of time on stream just trying to figure out how to do a thing. I wasted hours of trying to figure out how to just do things on my stream. So that's really frustrating, right? Because if I have to have your game on one screen and have Google on the other, trying to find answers, like that tells you this is not intuitive. So for example, let's say you want to play a game with me. We want to go do a hunt. So the first thing I have to do, I want to make it private. So just for clarity, I want a private lobby. So I log out of the game. I go back in. I start the game with a private lobby. I give you the lobby code. Unless we're friends, then maybe I can invite you to my code or to whatever. So now you're in my lobby. Then I have to invite you to my link, which is basically my group, right? So now you're in my group. And then I have to invite you to my environment link so that you can be in the same environment, aka instance of the zone that I'm in. So I had no clue of any of that. So the first 30 minutes, I have a buddy of mine, shout out to Plim, who's in my group. I can see his name on the side of my screen saying that he's in my link, and we can't find each other. We're looking everywhere. We're over here next to this rock, and we're standing next to the rock. I'm like jumping up and down, like, you're not here. He's like, no, you're not here. I had no clue.
It could certainly be more intuitive. Like no doubt about that. I will say this. It's still not like Dark Souls bad.
Oh, I agree. I agree.
So it could use some work, but at the same time, I feel like it's one of those things that kind of comes very much hand in hand with Monster Hunter just in general, where it's not super intuitive, but once you like figure it out, it's kind of like, okay, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
I do feel like we got to see how some things are going to work when the actual game comes out, because still, this is beta. Who knows what changes they made between there and here. I doubt it's going to be super like redone, but maybe hopefully a little more refined, hopefully a bit,
it'll be the same.
Like, better as far as like effectiveness, as far as like it working when you do it, as opposed to kind of some of the speed bumps you ran into this weekend with it. Because it's the first time that I played, like, I've been doing it solo. So it's the first time I played like with people. So I get it. That was kind of like, okay.
And to be fair, I'm not discouraged, right? I know, like I'm in infrastructure. That's what I do for a living. So when after the fact, like if it hadn't happened on stream, I probably wouldn't feel a certain way. But it happened on stream. My viewers, it was a frustration. But after the fact, I was able to kind of assess. I'm like, okay, I understand why they do certain things. Like I understand, like they have a lobby, and that lobby's probably for that instance. And then people are running around doing their own thing. And then you have a group, aka your link. So now, like, I'm intending to play with these individuals, but I don't want them to just hop into my instance, because what if they're doing something on the zone? So I don't want to just break what they're doing. So now I want to invite them into my instance. Like, I understand. And I also think too, maybe this is just what I didn't understand, but I'm wondering if you and I are in the same link, but we're not in the same environment link. So if you can invite me to yours.
Thing, yeah, which I know I gotten the link invite thing before. I don't understand exactly how that works. Are links like they're kind of like guilds, I guess, or
So think
or
of it
are they
like,
just
all
like
right,
temporary?
think about, all right, this is the best way I can put it. All right. This is going to be a terrible example. It's the best way I can put it. Let's say my lobby is my state. Okay. Let's say my link is my house. And let's say my environment is the day. So let's say, hey, Adam, I want you to come to my house on Friday. So you have to first get to my state, which you're not in my state. But then you have to get to my house. But then you have to show up on Friday. So if you show up on Thursday, I'm not going to be there. You can be in my house, but you're not on the right day, and I'm not going to be there. That's kind of the best way I can put it. You have your lobby, which is based on the zone. You have your link, which is basically your group, right? So this is, I'm intending to play with this individual. And then you have the environment, which is basically my instance of the zone that I'm in. So it's confusing, but I don't know.
Right, and anybody, if you understood that, make sure to get a comment down in the bottom there. Explain it better to me in layman's terms. But I get what you mean. Like it's not quite right. So again, I'm hoping they iron some of that stuff out. And to be fair, by the time I came in, because I was still at the gym that morning trying to get back in time to play some with y'all before I had to go to work and everything. And I was listening. By the time I actually got back home and actually got on, it was pretty smooth getting in there. So again, I think
we had figured it out at that point.
Well, exactly, right? So it's again one of those things that I put for Monster Hunter where it's like, could be better, could be worse, but once you get it, you're probably gonna be fine, like so as long as that's the case, then I'm gonna chalk that up to like just
user error.
Well, not user error, just it definitely isn't like the most intuitive things in the world with some of those things like that, the menu stuff and everything like that. But I mean, again, once you get it, you got it, so there's worse problems it could have.
For sure.
For me, it's still the combat is what's going to pull you in.
I agree.
And
I love the combat.
Is still on point.
I love the creatures.
Amazing.
I love the zone. There's a little bit of learning curve with the new mount, but once you figure it out, it all kind of makes sense. So I'm stoked. Already pre-ordered it. Day one, I'll be there.
Oh yeah, day one for sure. And I wanted to fight that dragon so bad. We were out hunting something else, and then here came this lightning dragon just sitting over there looking so beautiful with a big lightning tail, and I was like, "Oh, I want her."
I might play tonight, so maybe we'll sync up and play. I definitely will play tonight because I want to get re-familiar with the hammer combos because that way when the game comes out, I don't look like a complete fool day one. So.
For sure. But with that, so next little thing we got here, some interesting comments from EA. So I'm a long time BioWare fan. My favorite franchise of all time, favorite games, it's Mass Effect trilogy. In fact, I have declared it many times that when it comes to video games, just like movies have, you can argue between Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, but when it comes to games, there is only one true trilogy, and that is Mass Effect. And I will go to my grave with that belief. But some interesting comments from them. So apparently, according to EA anyways, the reason that Veilguard did not do so great or really just meet their expectations, which we as know is normally astronomically unreasonable, is because it didn't have, I believe the way they phrase it is online, multiplayer functionalities. Basically, what it gets down to, I'm paraphrasing all that, but close enough. But basically, they're saying the reason it failed is because it wasn't a live service game. Now, keep in mind that originally, when they had announced Dragon Age 4, they announced that it was going to be a live service game.
Right.
That was originally. Then, because everyone said, oh, no, we don't want that, the executive said, okay, change it all. And now they're saying that because they did that, so another case, first off, of just executives who don't know what they're talking about, blaming their customers for their poor decisions. And also, it gives me a certain level of anxiety about the next Mass Effect game.
Mm.
Like,
it should. Let's be honest. I mean, it should.
Oh,
There's a
man.
high probability the next Mass Effect will be live service, which is going to crush a lot of people. But you got
If
to
it
think.
does, I'm out.
You got to think.
I'm out.
They're not building games for the 10%, aka you. Like they're not building games for that. They're not building games anymore for your hardcore fans. They are building games that appeal to the masses to bring in the money. And so if they have to walk over their dedicated fan base at an opportunity using a branded name to build more and earn more, they're going to do that. I didn't play Veilguard, so I don't know what the problem was.
If they were getting that other 90%, but the fact is there is no 90% game. Yeah. Like even if you're looking at like massive games like Fortnite and stuff like that. I don't know what the real percentage of gamers that play Fortnite is, but I bet you it's not even 10%.
Yeah.
That's the problem with hoping that you can get every fish in the sea instead of just looking for the kind of fish that you know how to get, because people have different tastes and that's okay. So not everyone is into sci-fi, not everyone is into fantasy. So you do a bit of both and you make a quality product there. But it seems so much like they're so busy chasing the carrot that they're not worried about the fact that their wheels are freaking square.
Yeah.
Like
it's frustrating.
I don't, it's very frustrating because they have the gold mine there. The problem is that they want all the gold at once. And what they're doing is they're just blowing up the mountain and they're getting nothing for it.
Mm. So did you play Veilguard?
I did not. Okay. I did not because I am a big Dragon Age fan. Dragon Age.
I knew you were. Yeah. Origins.
I love that game.
2.
Number 2, I was mixed on. I didn't like that they got rid of the more strategic combat that I liked in Origins, even though not everyone is for that, but I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And then 3 I was more into, right? Like it's kind of
Inquisition,
kind of bland. Inquisition, yeah.
That was a good game.
Kind of bland. Yeah. It was a solid game though. The combat was a little basic, but again, it had the strategy mode, and that's how I basically played it. So it worked for me. But this one, the way the animation, just the style of it, the story, for one, picking up from a DLC for the last game that I didn't even play for one, so I just lost interest there. I didn't play that DLC where one of your main characters in Inquisition goes on to become like a villain apparently, and then now he's like the villain. And again, it just lost me.
Yeah.
And then everything that I saw for the looks of it, disinterested. And it's not for the, there are plenty of people out there who, it's the woke nonsense, yada yada yada. None of that, because again,
careless.
I don't care about stuff like that. Yeah, stuff like that never affected us, right? We don't we grew up playing games with all variety of people, so I'm into all that
for sure.
But the game itself, the combat, everything about it, none of it looked good to me. So I skipped it. And from what I've heard, I made the right choice. Now, skipping Dragon Age versus skipping Mass Effect are two valleys apart for me. Because again, Mass Effect, favorite franchise. Andromeda, I'm not going to defend it. I'm going to say this. Andromeda had just fine combat and some of the action was okay. The gameplay itself at a very narrow kind of perspective was fine, right? I like the being able to jump, and I like that you aren't boots on the ground anymore, like stuck to the floor. I was into that part. It's just everything else.
Okay.
Everything else around the story, the details, the animation, like the style still looked like Mass Effect, aside from some of the bugs it had in there and everything. But the soul was gone. It was like someone took the coffin of Mass Effect and said that's good enough, and they didn't get any of the soul out of there.
Yeah,
but
it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough to love something, and we love video games. We between the two of us, we have 60 years playing video games. So we love video games, and it's hard when you love a product or a franchise or a story or a main character or a side character, and you see how you feel they're done wrong.
Yeah.
So I get that. Hopefully, for all of our sakes, the next Mass Effect won't be live service, and it will be amazing. But I'm definitely not holding my breath. I will play Veilguard when it comes eventually to Game Pass. I will. I'm not going to spend my money on it.
And it's cheap. And I can get it for like $15 to $20, maybe.
Maybe, exactly. Because I heard it's okay. Like, Skill Up, I watched his review on it, and he basically said, hey, it's a good game. The combat is not what you think it is. It's actually very easy, and the storyline is okay. So it's an okay, good game. It is not a very good Dragon Age game. It's basically the vibe that I got.
But that's kind of what I got from impressions from the videos. And again, the thing is like the story being okay. What I want to know is why did they abandon the story from Origins?
Yeah.
The whole, the it's been so long, I can't remember the names, but the bad guys, the dark whatever they were called in that game, and the Archfiend and all this and that. That was interesting, but every storyline since then, including Inquisition, has just been like, I wish it had that level of darkness and kind of grit that those ones did. Very, very, early 2000s, late 90s, like, kind of dark and brooding grittiness to it. But now it's gone very much from like Diablo to Warcraft, and like its vibe to me, much more colorful, and kind of the edges are all smoothed out, and it's not as appealing to me.
I get that. But you did say one thing that stood out to me, and your words were, "There's not a better trilogy in video gaming."
You're gonna say something.
I know how important Mass Effect is to you, and I understand a lot of people would probably agree, but I would say I am impartial to BioShock.
There are a few games that I wouldn't say rival, but are certainly in the running or certainly make the charts. BioWare in of themselves are great games. I don't think of BioWare as a trilogy. People have said that to me. I think of BioWare 1 and 2.
You're thinking, okay, you're meaning to say BioShock, correct? Because you're throwing me off.
BioShock, yeah.
Okay,
What did I say? BioWare, yeah. Okay. We were last stuff, but I think of like BioShock. What's the cloud one?
Infinite.
Third one, Infinite. It's kind of a spin-off. It's not a trilogy. They don't necessarily like go hand in hand together and everything like that. It's not a continued story like that. They're each on their own. Like I would have said, one that I would say kind of gets in the ring with Mass Effect, and there's just certain things about it that don't quite make it overcome for me, would be like the God of War trilogy. That's a trilogy.
Okay.
That is a trilogy there to me. But because there are other games with 3 games in them that are pretty solid. I mean, I can go to Devil May Cry, but then you got to mention 2, and then we got to go into a whole bunch of other stuff. And there are other games that have 3 solid games in there, but
like the new Lara Croft, new Tomb Raider games. Those are solid. The top 3.
Yeah, those were solid. I wouldn't even come to my mind as far as like entering the ring there, because they're solid, but they're very generic for their time. There's a lot of games.
Okay, I will admit defeat. I would agree. Mass Effect 1, 2, 3 is probably the best trilogy. Okay, moving on.
Thank you.
Hold on. When you said trilogy, I immediately thought of BioShock, but I was like, well, Infinite.
And those
Infinite's up there with Andromeda.
Great games. I love those games, but like they're just not. Yeah, they're not quite on that level. And again, I don't think we'll get another trilogy that matches it until we get that. Because I can't think of anybody else who's done that. Continuing story, decisions matter. That's like something that came. It was big. They did it. And then it's kind of like, oh.
Speaking of decisions mattering, I heard you didn't have a PlayStation Network for quite some time. Tell me what you did. What was your decisions made during that outage?
Well, so the way that essentially went for me was getting up that morning. I did play Monster Hunter. I did maybe 2 hunts that morning, going to work, and then getting messages from home because my son was very upset because after doing his chores, he was supposed to be able to sit down and play Fortnite. That was impossible at the time. And he was quite distraught over the matter.
As any child would be.
As any child would be. And I was like, oh, well, that sucks. Hopefully it'll be back up soon.
Famous last words.
To play Monster Hunter tonight. Famous last words. I got home, sat down. I was still looking on there like, no, it's not working. I'm checking my thing. Yo, this only goes back into what we were saying before, what I was saying before, what we've been going over with these live service games and stuff like that. Because aside from just it being out and things like that, because I mean, I just went over and I played Cyberpunk. So I was like, cool. It doesn't really affect me.
Were you
at
able
that
to
point.
play though? Were you able to play offline? Because I know sometimes when those outages go, if they can't verify you own that license, you can't play the game. Were you able
So
to play?
yeah, I think I did see some people saying that they weren't able to play their game. I didn't have any trouble with the game. I couldn't download anything new, so I couldn't go into my like library and go back and like re-download, anything else that I wanted to play. So I had to play what I already had installed, but I didn't have any problem doing that. So but again, I don't care if it's 10% of people who have that problem. That's a problem in and of itself. That's where all these happen to be online, happen to be connected, happen to be live service, this and that. That's where it all hits a brick wall because I mean, so many limitations, so many things that out of nowhere you pay for this product. Maybe with these live services, you put more and more money into it, and then your stuff can just not work. Or aside from that, you can do all that, and then game doesn't quite do all that well, and they just pull the plug on it anyways. Look at Marvel's Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I played that one when it came out. I didn't hate the main campaign. End game was pretty weak. People still played it. People put their money into that game, and now it's gone. Poof. Sometimes they do refunds, sometimes they don't. I think it's that what is it? That universe multiverse game with the
multiverses?
multiverse one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our
Apparently,
kids
if you
love
bought
that.
but if you bought that super like $100 edition to get all the coins, so you can unlock characters when they come out. They said, nope.
Yep.
You are not getting that money back. That is it.
And
we did not say we give you characters. We said you give you tokens.
Multiverses was a great game. I don't want to go too much down that path, but our kids love that and we played it, but I'm thankful I didn't drop any money in it because I would have felt a certain way. Did they ever say why, like what caused the outage, or were they just kind of swept it underneath the rug? I wasn't paying attention because I wasn't impacted.
Mixed things. From what I understand, it was people hacking it. I don't know if they actually got into anything, but at that point, apparently Sony was essentially like, pull the plug. Like it wasn't so much that someone shut it down, as that someone was trying to get into their system. And so Sony flipped the switch. They said, we're not doing that, which I can appreciate from a certain standpoint because, Sony has had issues with leaks and stuff like that before. We remember back in, what was it?
2011
PS3 days when it went down for months.
Yeah.
Like months it was out. And there was a whole big leak. I remember you had to pretty much like recreate, but like rename or whatever your account when you got back on and stuff.
I remember
it was a big ordeal.
We got Heavy Rain for free. I remember that.
Oh yeah. Which I mean, hey, and now people are going on. They want, we want this and that. I think they're giving away 5 free days of PS Plus if your stuff was interrupted.
Whoopee.
Yeah. Whoopee. Again, people are like, we want compensation. I'm not at the point where I want compensation. I want the system be better. I want them to fix their stuff to where if their system does go down, it's not quite so catastrophic.
Mm-hmm.
If there are people out there, like I said, I didn't have this problem, but if anybody out there, first off, let us know if you did have that problem down in the comments there, because if you did, I think that is absolutely ridiculous. That should not even be an issue. So they need to fix their infrastructure to where if things like that happen, that is not something that anybody has to deal with. Because if you paid for it, you should be able to play it whenever, however you want to. Like that's the deal. That's reminds me of those people who take their carts out of Walmart and they come over and, can I see your receipt? And they get in that whole thing. You seen those videos? They like call the police, little security guards want to get all tough. I'm like, man, once it's yours, you don't owe nobody no explanation. You don't need no understanding. I don't care about the compensation stuff. Want to give everybody a $5 credit, which I think would have been better than 5 days of
for sure
PS Plus.
Something
that cost them nothing. So if we're getting to that, give me $5 in PSN if you want to do that. And to everybody, not just anybody who tried to log in that weekend, $5 PSN credits. Not much, but hey, you're right. You didn't get to play your game for a day and a half.
That would be better compensation for sure. Yeah, Sony's been making a lot of interesting decisions. Should we talk about that PlayStation? Yeah. I think they are comfortable. And I think this is a great segue to talk about that PlayStation event that just happened.
It is. Before we get into that, though, I do just want to go out there, give you guys a little call to action. If you are enjoying the conversation here, make sure you go down there, like, subscribe so you get all future videos. And hey, go over and check us out over on the app that rhymes with itch. We do stuff over there too. So go check it out.
Yeah, Twitch.
But
Twitch.
That Twitchy app. But yeah, going into that. So what we did have from Sony, they making some moves, depending on how you look at it, was the state of play they just had there, which people getting some mixed things about it. Some people, I don't know what you're expecting. Some people, saying it was all right. So you want to go through and run over some of the highlights and maybe some good shout outs there. What was your highlights for the state of play?
There weren't many. So I knew we were going to talk about this. And so what I did is I went through and I separated good, bad, ugly. That's just kind of where I'm at. Okay. So where do you want to start? I think we should save the ugly for last for clarity.
Let's fluctuate. So let's start off with the bad.
All right.
We'll go bad first since you kind of got a scale there.
Let's do it. I only have 3 things that I would say bad. And I wouldn't, maybe I should, good, bad, ugly sounds great. Let's be honest. But really it's good, concerned, ugly. Right. So these are the 3. If you didn't watch the PlayStation event, I do recommend it. I think overall it was a great event. If you're a gamer, there's a lot of content, there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of interesting stuff, but there were 3 things that stood out that I was concerned with. And I'll just I'll say them all. And then if you want to respond, you can respond. First thing, Splitgate 2. I really enjoyed the first one. I played it. And when it came offline, I thought it was kind of weird. Like the game I felt polished enough. Seeing the gameplay for Splitgate 2, I don't see, to me, it looks like Splitgate 1. Like, I do not understand why Splitgate came offline so that Splitgate 2 could come online. I feel like whatever they have done at this point could just simply have been an update to Splitgate. They could have continued that revenue stream. It wasn't costing them hardly anything to keep those servers running for the player base that was enjoying it. And I was one of them. It was very much like Halo meets Portal. It was a great arena shooter. So I don't see the value in number 2. So I'm concerned by what's the point? Like, no, it looks very similar. What's the difference? So that's my first thing. Second thing.
So I'm gonna intervene a little bit there. So I'm gonna have no disagreement on that. I'm just gonna say that seems to me like feeling like you got to take something away to add value to the other something, right? Yeah. Like how many of us didn't continue to play the last online game because the new one come out? If the new one comes out and it's better, we move to that one. If it's not, then we just want to go back to the other one. Or happens all the time.
Or just do. I mean, I would never really recommend this for most games as a disclaimer, but this would have been a perfect use case to do what Overwatch did. Overwatch 1, we have what we want to do. We want to improve it with these few things. We're going to just move it to Overwatch 2. Here's your new features. Here's your new capabilities. Here's your new UI. That would have been a perfect use case for Splitgate because I just don't see much of a difference. So I think that's interesting.
Yeah, then you can still call it Splitgate 2, but instead of TWO, you put TOO.
Exactly.
Splitgate 2.
that's kind of how it feels, let's be honest. Second thing, Metal Eden. So this is completely new. I had never heard of it, which if I haven't heard of something, that's pretty rare. So I'm concerned. I'm concerned because it looks very much like Doom. They didn't really show us much gameplay, and it's literally coming out like a week before Doom. Like, that's brave. Those developers are brave. I feel like somebody else made that decision. I feel like Sony or PlayStation, whoever, is pushing this narrative, hey, we need to compete with Doom. This game looks just like it. Let's announce it, show a little bit of gameplay, and literally drop it. I think it was 5 or 10 days before Dark Ages. That is crazy to me. I worry about that team because there's no shot that game releases and it's not compared to Doom Dark Ages. Thoughts? Do you remember that one? Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Oh, that was my fault. I muted myself. Yeah, so I vaguely remember that one, but I'm going to say this. I do remember seeing it thinking, oh, man, it's another Doom kind of game. I'm going to say this. It probably isn't a good idea to release it so close to Doom. Like,
that was intentional.
Yeah, I don't know if it was the smart intentional, but I will say this: I'm up for for more Doom-like games. Like I'm up for that genre itself, that kind of style of first-person shooter, kind of repopulating because we used to get a lot more of them back when first-person shooters were just coming around. You know, you had Doom and Wolfenstein were like the OGs, and then you started getting more and more doing it that style until it refined into a new kind of more precise thing with like GoldenEye and stuff like that. But given that Doom is so great, why not get more games in that style? More of that just really quick kind of sprinter shooters.
Mm.
I like it. It's a lot of fun. I don't know. I'm more afraid that what it's gonna do is release around Doom and kind of underperform because of it, which of course, knowing how the execs and these publishers and stuff react to things, are gonna say, oh, well, clearly that means nobody wants anything like Doom unless it's Doom.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's entirely true. So I'm in there with you in the concerns. My concern is specifically not about do people want this kind of game?
Right.
It's
a week
is
before
it a
Doom?
good idea to release that? Like I don't imagine back in the day that Saints Row came out around the same time as Grand Theft Auto 4. Like pretty sure they didn't do that. So you
Right.
gotta be a bit smarter. Maybe they're just hoping that everyone's going to be so gassed up for Doom. That is it coming out before or after Doom?
It's like it's either 5 or 10 days before, like literally right before, which
So
tells me it's
maybe they're
very
hoping people are
intentional.
going to be so stoked for Doom that like, oh, here's a Doom-like game, and I'll play that before I could probably beat it in that before Doom 2 or Doom Dark Ages comes out. I don't think it's going to pay off.
We'll see what happens. I feel like this is a recap of when Horizon Zero Dawn decided to release right around Breath of the Wild, and we saw what happened there. So this, I feel like, is going to be very similar. So my third and last concern, Days Gone Remastered. Nobody asked for that. I mean, the game is fine. I mean, you're playing it right now on PC. It's a great game. Looks great. Play it on PS4. Play it on PS5. It looks great. It's a great game. Why?
So
what's up with the remastered there? Nobody asked for it. You asked for it? Okay.
I'm with it because again, in my situation, my kids play on my PS4. They use my account and everything like that. So I can't play games on my PS5 when they're playing games. So some games kind of just get left on the shelf because also I do like the upgrades that come along with the PS5. I like the controller and the adaptive triggers and all that. So anything adding that in there, bringing it up to now, it's the same reason. Like, why do they upgrade GTA 5? Because it's a big game, people want to play it. And aside from that, like, I'm pretty sure I think the studio who made them, did they get shut down or did they get
they didn't get I don't think they got shut down. I honestly don't know, but I just remember like the lead developer making a lot of comments about Sony, like saying things like they didn't appreciate this game.
Salty
he was salty.
Let's see something.
I don't remember. I think it's Bend Studio, right? I'm pretty sure it's Bend.
Bend Studio.
Is it Bend?
Yeah, Bend.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was thinking. I don't think they got shut down. They may have. If they did, my heart breaks for that. Nobody wants to see
I don't see anything saying they got shut down. But either way, I know that they've always been kind of very salty about that. And what I hope, that makes it kind of a catch-22, because when you come out and you act salty, like even, there's one thing to kind of call attention to, stuff, but it's another to kind of be salty with like the player base and stuff like that, which I have seen some stuff there, if I don't recall, where they're kind of like, oh, basically if only people had bought it more, it's y'all's fault, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, he definitely blamed.
So that's stuff I'm not for. But being that Days Gone is a great game, I do hope that enough people play the remaster and stuff like that it does well enough to maybe push us towards getting the sequel. I don't know, a lot of people are saying, oh, why did we get this and not a sequel? Well, because I don't think we have a whole lot of faith in the franchise.
Yeah, for sure. So, but hey, if you have a Steam Deck, it plays amazing on the Steam Deck. It is one of the best games, in my opinion, that you can play on the Steam Deck, just as a shameless disclaimer.
It was just such a good game in general.
It was. But that's my three concerns. I feel like everything else fell in the good or great or exciting category, except for the one, what did I say? Good, bad, ugly, except for the ugly, which we'll save that for last.
Okay, so
what did you have any concerns?
You have a second to Rewind my brain. No, just the PS Plus stuff they announced is still trash. Bunch of
I
games
skipped
that
past
everyone
that.
either already has or
I skipped past that whole section because I'm like, it doesn't apply to me.
Yeah, Jedi Survivor, like
great game.
That's one of those games where anybody who was interested in playing Jedi Survivor played Jedi Survivor.
I wouldn't say that. Because a lot of people,
there's going to be some exceptions.
Yeah,
but
that's a great game, but a lot of people just weren't wanting to pay for it, right? Like they knew eventually it was going to come to EA Play. They probably knew eventually it was going to come to PlayStation Plus. I think there's a lot of people waiting for it, and I think that is a great ad for that subscription service. That is a wonderful game. I loved it.
I think maybe I'm just salty because I'm tired of them giving me stuff that I already have.
You know the trick to that? Just stop buying games. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That was a joke. That was a joke.
Then I want to play things.
That was a joke. That happens to me all the time. I'll buy a game and like next week it'll be on Xbox Game Pass.
So many times, man. It's exhausting. All right. And then, all right, so those are the concerns. Mine is just a little minimal nitpicking there, but going on from there. So what's the good stuff? What stood out as good for you? You said there wasn't much, if I recall.
There's one great. I'll save that for after the good. So, I mean, obviously, this is where the majority of the showcase fell, like the event. I felt like the majority of it was good content, good games, a lot of great stuff from third party publishers. So I'm not going to talk about like the obvious, like the Borderlands 4 gameplay, that looked awesome. Split Fiction gameplay, that looked awesome. The Metal Gear Snake Eater, that looks awesome. Those are all 3 games I'm buying, period. But some of the new standouts, I have a list of maybe 5. So the new Sonic Racing game. I know. Why is that the first one? The Sonic Racing games are good. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. If you like Mario Kart, Sonic Racing is a good game. I'm hoping this one can be great. Lost Souls aside, that looked really, really good. I am reserving judgment because you can sell me on a trailer. You can sell me on 30 seconds of combat, but I'm actually excited about that one. And then there was the Directive 8020 by Supermassive, the ones behind The Quarry and I forget the other game that you liked about the haunted house or whatever it was. But that was the one by
Until Dawn.
Until Dawn. Thank you.
Yeah.
But this one is like set in space and it signed me up. I mean, that looks really, really good. So I'm excited about Directive 8020.
I'll second you on that one, although that one is one that I'm a bit unsure about because Supermassive,
are they hitting this?
Until Dawn, especially their writing isn't always up to par, but I enjoy the experience. Quarry, I think, was kind of lower quality. I think Until Dawn is still kind of their magnum opus there, but I'm still up for it. It still looks like the kind of game that I'll be into, so definitely going to try that one. I don't know if it's day one, but
definitely not day one, but I'll definitely play it.
Probably like first sale, maybe.
For sure. And then Tides of Annihilation, that looks great. The game, dude, that one was like, I went back and rewatched that gameplay.
Oh, yeah.
But I can't tell if it's Souls-like or if it's more like Devil May Cry.
Oh, no. Yes, very much so. From what I'm getting from it, it's taking that, it looks very Final Fantasy as far as the style and everything like that. And has that kind of, big world, even the mixture of fantasy and like modern civilization looks like it has in there is already very Final Fantasy in and of itself. But the combat, looking at it, it looks
great.
My first thought
Sign
was
me up.
Devil May Cry. Yep. Yes.
Hope it comes to Steam.
Those are the action games that I like. And everyone is very much into their Soulsborns these days, which is great. My action was always much more just super fast, super unrelenting, but all over the place, like taking on waves and waves of energy as opposed to one giant abomination just molly-whopping you for 6 days straight before you get one lucky hit and then finally get to go get to the next molly-whopping. But anyways, yeah, that one, I'm glad you mentioned that one because that one is way up there. That if I see more of it and it keeps looking as Devil May Cry as it does,
might be day one.
Potentially in the day one spot for me.
For sure.
Absolutely.
It looks great. I will definitely, like I said, I need to see. I mean, I have like 2 reviewers that I care about, right? Like ACG, Skill Up. I'm going to wait for their reviews. If they're both aligned that is worth getting, I'll probably pick it up. Just there's too many games that are coming out these days. You just can't, it's not feasible to buy every one of them. But that one is 100% on my radar. And the last 2 things I want to talk about are the shout outs to the couple of indies that showed up. I really am looking forward to Midnight Walk. You probably don't remember that one, but that's the one with like the claymation.
No,
yes, that one.
Yep,
looks awesome.
Date, May 8th looks real good.
Can't wait. And then Darwin's Paradox, the one with the octopus. Sign me up. Looks like Hollow Knight with an octopus. I'll take it. But yeah, those are pretty much all the ones that I felt were worth calling out in the good. So I would curious of what your thoughts. Now, like I said, I have a great category and then I have an ugly category. So we're saving those.
So if we're just talking good, then I'm going to mention Digimon.
Yes.
I'm interested in seeing. It's not like, it's not way up there, but it's definitely like, depending on how it plays, as long as it doesn't just go back to the old school Pokemon turn-based, I want something more progressive, more current for those games. It's kind of why I stopped playing the Pokemon game and why Pal World was so amazing. Like, I want some, more progression there. But I'm interested in that one.
All right. Sorry about that. So you probably just saw a blip in the VOD. I lost internet. So we are back. We are still talking about the PlayStation event. So go ahead, Adam. I think you were just getting ready to mention Onimusha.
Yeah, I think I was talking about the new Onimusha game coming out here, and that is Way of the Sword. Yeah, I was just saying, it looks really good. It actually looks interesting. Like I said, there's a moment in there where they want to get a little chuckle out of you, and a lot of the times it's a very much a thing that I can imagine 1,000,001 other games trying that moment and getting nothing but cringe, and it got a chuckle out of me. So I don't know. It's just it gave me enough to get me interested. I'm not entirely sold on it. It looks a little bit too Dark Souls for my taste, but at the same time, it looks like it might be one of those ones that kind of runs the that line just enough for me. So I'm interested in that one. But yeah. So we did have a little outage there, but we're just gonna keep things going. So I think that's pretty much.
Let's talk about Onimusha real quick. So I know that they are also doing the remake, right? What are your thoughts on? I don't know if it's a remake or a remaster, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's a remaster of Onimusha 2. I mean, honestly, they were never games that I really played a whole lot at that point in time when those games were coming out. I was very much, I was young, so a lot of the time what I got to play was what like my uncles or them had that I got to play. I was always that person on the whatever the new consoles were. I was on that last one until like 2 generations ago. So. Yeah. But I mean, so I never played that one. It looks interesting, but
are you going to play it?
Not having that nostalgia factor for me, I'm probably not gonna, go backwards on that one. Maybe if I see it cheap somewhere, I'll grab it and check it out. But other than that, didn't really draw me in. Again, even the new ones, kind of the trailer and kind of the humor that I saw in it that kind of, got me interested there.
I got you. Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. I mean, there's just a lot of like feudal Japanese games coming out, which isn't a bad thing. That's not a bad thing. I am still more excited about Ghost of Yotai, just personally. And so I was saddened that we didn't get to see that. Any other standout good before we go to what I would consider great?
Nothing else that I have in mind. I think everything else, that's pretty much as far as that was good. There's stuff in there. I mean, Like a Dragon, the Pirate Yakuza, they have a demo coming out for that. That's cool. I started playing one of the Yakuza games, the one where it's like back in anybody who's familiar with the franchise, the one that's set in like feudal Japan or whatever. And I was enjoying it. I think I deleted that for Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but probably plan on going back and finishing that one up. So that looks interesting. I might check out the demo and see if that's something to pull me over, but that's about it.
All right. I understand. And, there's a huge following for that franchise. So I think it's, Yakuza, Like a Dragon, those
been around forever.
For sure. All right. I only have one thing in the great category.
I bet you I know what it is.
I bet you do. That's Soros. I mean, of course, it's Soros.
Oh, yeah.
So for those who don't know, I'm a huge Housemarque fan. I always have been. I loved Returnal. I love their top-down games, their twin-stick shooters. They do really well with that. So the moment I saw Housemarque, I'm like, yeah, I'm day one. I mean, I'm buying it. I don't care. Hopefully it comes to Steam. Hopefully I don't have to wait a year after release. But hey, worst part about being on Steam when it comes to PlayStation games is if it takes time, then at the very least, we're going to get a little bit more content than what most people get at launch. So I don't mind waiting if it means it's the best version of the game. But I cannot wait for that. Gameplay, I mean, they hardly showed anything, and I'm already like, day one, don't care. I'm buying it for sure.
I think it's cool that they kind of found their style and everything like that, you know, what people seem to like from them and what they're good at doing. And rather than just, you know, revisiting it with endless sequels, they're taking that style and they're doing a new story and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, Returnal was a lot of fun, you know, great game. Very, very much reminded me of like, almost like playing like old school Galaga games, but like at a different slant, you know, like
for sure.
The way it works out and stuff. So I'm definitely interested in that one. I'm a top my list, but I knew it would be on yours. And thing is though, you're already saying like, you know, you have to wait for that PC release since you abandoned the PS market, but hey, it'll get there eventually, I'm sure. It seems like Sony's heading a bit more towards some of that stuff.
I think they will. Like they're seeing there's no value in not putting their games on Steam. There's just not. I mean, you reach a wider exactly. You reach a wider audience when you publish games to Steam. It's not going to take away from your console base because people who prefer console have a PS5. People that prefer PC have a PC. The only thing it changes is for people who have both, and it may steer their purchasing decision to the console versus the Steam. But does it really matter? You know, are you going to hamstring that 10% who have both, or would you rather get the other 60% that does not have the PlayStation 5? So hopefully they're learning. They're taking notes from Microsoft. You know, they're hopefully it comes out within the year, but best case scenario, day and date.
We'll see.
Yep.
And then one shout out I did want to give that kind of fallen retroactively into the great side there as I've kind of seen more about it. And that's this game, Abiotic Factor. Now, this is one of those games that you are not playing for the graphics, you are playing for the content. It's very simple graphics, but it's based on, it's like, I'm not sure if you're familiar with SCP. They're like the, what is it? Secure, Capture, Protect, I think it stands for. It's this online website. People go and they write stories, right? It's kind of very X-Files. It inspired a lot
Okay.
Remember the game Control?
Love Control.
That whole
one of my favorite games.
Think that, but much bigger, right? Much broader and much crazier stuff. People go in there, they write stories about supposed SCPs. They're all numbered. You can find them online. Some of them are creepy, some of them are funny, some of them are just, and depending on how people react to them, kind of bumps them up into the official files and stuff like that. And this is essentially a game where, from my understanding, I haven't played it yet. It is out in early access on Steam, I believe. It's like $25 there, I think, and I've been considering picking it up. But you're essentially exploring different levels of this building where, you know, each one, doors and stuff go to different environments, different dimensions, different kind of stuff. And it's all about working your way up the tower, from my understanding. Now, again, I have a very simple understanding of it. It's just the concept alone. And from what I've heard of, if you go on there, it has overwhelmingly positive reviews on there. Like, people seem to be loving it. It's not even finished yet, but there's a lot of content there already. So I'm throwing that one in there towards the great side because just from what I've heard after the fact, since people have been playing it.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm excited. If you're excited, I'll definitely be on the lookout. But let's talk about.
And I think it is multiplayer, so we might have to check that one out. Might be a good one to get in on.
All right.
But with that, so what about the uglies? What was the ugly side? I have one in particular, and it's more salty than anything. But for you, what was the ugly side of the state of play?
Ugly side of the state of play. I went back and I counted every game that was there. There were 27 games during the PlayStation event. Only 2 were published by PlayStation Studios, one of which was Days Gone Remastered. The other one, of course, being Sorrows, what we just talked about. What is Sony doing? That's my concern. Like, that is my biggest issue with this event. You have this huge event, an hour long worth of content, 27 games, which is great, right? Like, you're showing stuff, you're supporting the third party publishers, but it's called PlayStation Event. Sure, whatever. Developer Direct. I can't remember exactly what the suffix of this video was.
Yeah.
But why are there only 2 from PlayStation Studios? That's strange to me. Did you catch that?
So I did. I think it's a combination of, I mean, for one, kind of expected to do a state of play every so often. I guess it was just kind of time to do one. They did have a lot of stuff to show off. I think a lot of these things are kind of very, some of them are very PlayStation coded. Like even Borderlands, while it's not a PlayStation exclusive or anything like that, they seem to be working pretty hand in hand with PlayStation on this release. They're even going to have their own like PlayStation event for Borderlands in the next coming weeks, I think, where they're going to show off more content. And I mean, also, I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that a lot of what probably would have gotten shown off here has been canceled.
You know, think so?
Remember they
went through and they gutted a lot of their stuff, you know?
Yeah, a lot of their stuff. Because apparently they had a ton of, and this goes back to earlier stuff, a ton of live service games that they had planned. They had like 20 something live service games that were being worked on, and they shut down like the majority of them, if I recall. So I'm sure that cut into things as far as what they have to show. I think, and I've always said it, especially these days in an environment where people are getting, much more cross-play and all this and that, multi-platform seems to oftentimes be the bigger games out there. Sony has always shined in single player, like, focused games. That's, to me, that's their console sellers. And I think they steered away from that for too long that it's left them in this kind of gap. Aside from like Soros and, some other games that might have little features and this and that that are specific to PlayStation. Otherwise, I just don't think they have a lot of their own like first party stuff to show off. Like that, and at least not that they haven't already. Like if they had more Ghost Yotai to show off, it would.
You think it would have been there?
I just don't think they have anything else to show off that wouldn't just be giving too much away, which I'm fine with. I don't need to see, like, I know you were looking forward to seeing more of it. When it comes to a game like that where I'm already sold on it, I want to see as little as possible, honestly. It's cool that they put stuff out there for people who want to see it, but me, if they had put out like, oh, we're going to do an in-depth yada, 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 those are the things that I don't really care to watch because I want to play the game and experience it firsthand, kind of brand new, rather than jumping in with, all this kind of foresight that I just don't think, games should explain to you. It's going to explain to you. It's going to give you the experience. So I don't need the pre-experience on stuff that I'm already sold on. Normally it's just for things that I'm on the fence about. But yeah, I mean, they definitely need to step it up. Where are these PlayStation franchises? Where is Infamous? Where is
Killzone? Where's Resistance?
Resistance. At this point, man, give me a freaking Sly Cooper. I don't care, PlayStation. Just make a game.
Yeah.
Like, make more games, And last year they had the Astrobots game, which, again, I haven't played myself, heard great things about, won Game of the Year in some places. And, I mean, it came back and it showed people are still into mascot platformers, which was a genre that was huge. And then the publishers just they decided that we wouldn't like them anymore, which I never understood. Like, they've always been fun kind of games to play, but they brought that back. Bring more back. Give us stuff, PlayStation. Give me a reason. Because, again, we're not asking you to give us free stuff. We're asking you to give us what we want to purchase from you. And as far as, because Metal Gear Solid isn't even like a PlayStation exclusive thing now, right? That's coming to Xbox and everything. Yeah. So, I mean, even some of the stuff that is very PlayStation coded is not PlayStation exclusive anymore. Yeah. And it's not made by them. It's not like it was before. So they need to step up their game and give us more of what, more things to get excited about that we're not going to be able to get anywhere else. Because that's the thing. If we can get it somewhere else, what's the point?
I agree. Sorry, I've been trying to find this article. I knew that I found it, and I just realized, oh, wait, I sent it to you. Speaking about all that, I saw yesterday where Sony announced that they may not even hold a PS5 summer showcase. So that just adds fuel to this thought that what are they doing? Where are these games? They have all these different teams, all these people that are working on certain things. I understand they went through that huge live service shift, but what is going on now? Like if I'm a customer of Sony and all I care about are Sony games, what do I have to look forward to? Like, where are my big heavy hitters? Like, I don't know. It's concerning.
I have to assume that those games are just not in the condition to show at this point because, I mean, here's the thing, right? They could have shown off a 3-minute whatever of Wolverine, which was going to be on my ugly list. That Wolverine, there was nothing for him there, and it's kind of gone just absolutely silent. They could have shown off concept art. Honestly, just here's what we're working on. Here's kind of the style that we're going for there. And that would have at least wet people's whistles a little bit. Instead, a lot of that stuff is just not there.
Right.
And again, I think it's so they spent so much time investing in things that people were not necessarily like gung-ho about. They wanted these big investments in live service as live service has just died out. They keep on trying so hard to make Event Horizon, that's the horror movie. Horizon Zero Dawn and all that, the Horizon franchise, much bigger than I think it really is. Like, their focus is just not on the things that, like, where is Bloodborne 2? That right there would silence everybody.
Yeah, literally.
Everybody. You know what? Bloodborne remastered or just a PS5 update would silence a lot of people. Well, that would be a huge deal.
Somebody was building that would be
way bigger than Days Gone.
Yeah, somebody was building a mod for it. They worked on it for years, and they were getting ready to publish it, and they shut it down. Like, what? Why? It just doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like Nintendo has this bad thing where they overvalue their properties. In my opinion, that's why they hold things back. They release 30-year-old games they want you to spend $30 on, and they take them away and they try to play us like they're Disney and stuff like that. But I feel like PlayStation just doesn't, like, they don't understand the value of their property. It's not even that they overvalue some of them, they do, but a lot of those ones that they're just leaving on the back burner over there, it's like, man, that's straight lobster you got over there just roasting in that pot, man. Like, take it off and serve us.
For sure. Yeah.
And they're like, no, thank you.
I agree. It's interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's everything I want to talk about as far as the PlayStation event. I think there were a couple of like really things that stood out. Like, I love Sorrows, obviously. Really looking forward to all the games I listed on the good. I'm concerned about some of the stuff, and I'm really concerned about what PlayStation has going on and what's cooking in the oven. I have a question for you. What style do you prefer? So we just had the Xbox showcase, right? They had like 5 games. They did deep dives. You saw story. You saw gameplay decisions. You saw plenty of content as far as gaming and like gameplay. And then you have this event where there's a lot more content, a lot more games that are being shown, but smaller bite-sized pieces. Now, mind you, both events, most of the games are coming out in the next 6 months. Like the Xbox event, everything's coming out in like the next 4 months. The PlayStation event, most of it's coming out in the next 6 months. So all of it's kind of tailored to what's what's in the pipeline coming very soon. But what style do you prefer? Do you like the more the merrier?
Personally, I prefer the more rather than the deep dives. Like I said, if I'm sold on a game, I don't really want the deep dives like that because I want to be a bit more surprised. I want to taste. I want you to wet my whistle and then kind of let me take it from there. So, and again, there's nothing necessarily against it, but I think that if your game is good, if your game is solid, then you could put together a 2-minute trailer. And I think I learn a lot more from those 2-minute trailers sometimes than you do from those longer ones. Because longer ones, people talking about, telling you how they feel about it. And, oh, I've always dreamed of making a guy who can swing the biggest sword in the world and stab you in the face. And that's what we've been struggling to achieve here, truly. And, all this kind of fluff stuff that just doesn't affect me. But if I see a 2-minute trailer or let's cut it in half. If I see a 1 minute trailer, and that trailer is nothing but like quick cuts and brief moments. I can't remember what. There's one game that was shown that I can't remember what it was, but I lost all hope in it because it was all a series of moments, quick actions, things happening versus any transition periods between those things happening. It was not run over, hide behind a car, get up, shoot, run around and interact with another thing. It was clip of him stopping at the car, clip of him over here shooting. And that's a red flag to me because clearly there's something in between there that they're not trying to show off. They're trying to throw all the excitement in my face because they're afraid to show the lulls in between, which tells me the lulls in between probably aren't that great. So I think in a lot of cases, not to mention in that 2 minute trailer, 1 minute trailer, I'm probably going to decide if I want the game or not. I'll learn more later and you'll hear little stuff here or there. You might hear something, oh, it has this or that in there that I don't want. And maybe I'll change my mind. But in that 2 minutes, I can probably decide. Plus, one thing I appreciate is that PlayStation, like in that style, it makes time to give a lot of shout outs to a lot of smaller games that might not otherwise get noticed. If you're spending 20 minutes just showing us how they, drew the Demon Slayer's, perfect butt cheeks and everything like that, then I don't need all that. But you could use that time instead to show me, oh, here's a fun little cutesy game might not be my thing, but I have respect for all the devs out there making that stuff for people. And so kind of sharing that around. And I think, honestly, I think that's a big thing for Xbox, or there's a lot of those indie things. Like, I still buy my mainstream games on console over on PlayStation. So if there's a fun little game in there, that's what draws me to Xbox or up over to Game Pass. So it's a catch-22. I think some of the deep dives can be interesting depending on what the game is and stuff. If you're explaining things that aren't inherently obvious to what the game is, then great, explain some of these little inner workings here and what I can look forward to. But if you're just, oh, we wanted to make the shooting so extra shooty this time. The shooting it shoots. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah. I get that. I agree with your catch-22, right? There's pros and cons of both approaches. I think in today's demographic, the majority of people prefer the quick hits. That's why YouTube Shorts and TikTok is so popular. But people like me, I'm analytical. I want to see the deep dives. I want to know these game design decisions because I am more cautious with my money these days. There's too many games. It's a great time to be a gamer. It's a bad time to have a budget. So I have to be more selective with what games I want to buy. That's just where I'm at. So I like the deep dives because it gives me fuel to justify certain purchases. But I hear you, right? If I want to know what's happening and I just want to see game announcements, I think they did a great job with, here's all the stuff you probably don't know about, and it's all coming out in the next 6 months. I definitely prefer that approach as opposed to announcing something that doesn't have a release date or a release window and just years off. Like, I could care less about seeing announcements for games that are 2 or 3 years off. So either way, I think both approaches fix that problem for sure.
Yeah, it's catch-22. They both have their positive points there. And then before we move on and fully out of the state of play stuff, I just want to do a quick rundown of some of the things we did not get around to going over. So there's Warriors Abyss, a kind of a roguelike game that I think basically looks like Dynasty Warriors mixed with the I think it's like a co-op game or something like that. But so it's more of a roguelike. So I think that's already out now. Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, the remake, game called Hell Is Us, another creepy game that was very SCP kind of control vibes to it. Lies of P Overture, it's a new DLC there. Dreams of Another didn't really catch me, but it's like a first person or like a shooter game, but instead of destroying, you're shooting and creating things. So interesting. Stellar Blade DLC, Tides of Annihilation. We mentioned that one. Mind's Eye. I don't exactly recall that was, but it was listed there. Oh yeah, and No Wolverine. Just gonna throw that out there one more time.
Womp,
But
womp, womp.
that's it for that. And then, so moving on out of that, PlayStation, we'll see how things go from there. But there are other places that are having a little bit of difficulty, it seems here. I didn't want to just mention, and for a particular point, which we'll get to, but I want to mention apparently the Wonder Woman game that has been in development is hitting some rocky shores here. Now, I know you said you didn't know too much about it. I didn't know too much either.
I mean, I remember seeing like the initial trailer for Wonder Woman. I remember thinking, hey, that probably has potential. That's about all that I remember when it comes to that game. I just don't remember much about it. If I'm being honest.
For the game itself, that's where I'm at. If it comes out, great, cool. Hopefully it's good. What stood out to me was in them talking about them kind of restructuring and replanning the game. Came out that originally the game was made with and included the Nemesis system. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Nemesis system that's back from the Shadows of Mordor, or for Mordor, whatever. And one of the greatest systems ever, most wasted systems ever been made in gaming. Basically, if you fight someone and you lose, or if you beat them but they escape and stuff like that, create a kind of rivalry. They remember you when they show up again. They talk a lot of trash. And then if they keep beating you and stuff, they'll get stronger and stronger. So you kind of have this nemesis out there. Now, WB got a copyright on that mechanic, which I don't think is actually legal. Like, you can't copyright a game mechanic, but they did it. And in my personal opinion, it's been simply a matter of nobody has had the cojones to go out there and challenge them on it, to just put it in their game and say, let's go to court. I think no one's been brave enough to do it. And that's why we haven't seen it. And they have not used it since those Lord of the Ring games. So I just wanted to come out here and throw a little more salt at them, at WB. Shame on you. Shame for holding back. Think of all the games. I bet off the top of your head, you probably think of
so many.
That Nemesis system would have worked perfect in. Can you imagine being Spider-Man?
Elden Ring? Imagine Elden Ring? I mean, they're
some of those side guys who get stronger and stronger and level up to stuff. Suddenly you're walking out there and there's a dude who one day was just some random little guard, and now he is out there just
commanded,
hulked out.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I mean, it's such a good system. I don't know. It's frustrating. I'd imagine it's frustrating for dev teams too, because they see something like, hey, this would be a perfect fit for this game. Let's put it in this game. But then you have to jump through all these hurdles. Like don't even get me started with Pokemon and throwing the ball to catch the creature. Like, that's the whole thing with Pal World.
Yeah.
Like, you threw the ball to catch a creature. That's our thing. We're suing you. Like, that's crazy. I mean, I don't know.
And the funniest thing, I'll never let it down that, because everyone tried to call out Pal World for, these designs are taken for Pokemon. Pokemon's designs were taken from Dragon Quest. They were a direct ripoff of Dragon Quest characters, of monsters. So if we're going to go back that far, everyone's been ripping off Dragon Quest for 30 years. So
Dragon Quest was a ripoff of Dungeons and Dragons and Final Fantasy. I think pretty sure Final Fantasy came out before then too. I mean, everything is always a ripoff of something.
Was a ripoff of Tolkien.
Right.
They even had to change the name from hobbits to halflings. Yep. There you go. It all goes back.
It all goes back.
My point being, just let people create, because they're trying to give us stuff and people trying to put up these artificial hurdles. I hate it. And I'll always talk out against it, because it's not good for us. It's not even good for them, because they're not using it.
Right.
Like,
and think about it. Like, if I make a game that has a Nemesis system and it's out and everybody's loving it, that's going to bring conversation back to the OG Nemesis. I mean, there's just, I don't know, there's really no downside, in my opinion, other than just corporate greed, which is probably what it all boils down to anyway. Yeah, there you go.
We're not gonna dwell on it too long. I just want to throw a little salt at WB any chance I get him in the eye if I can. One last thing, it's a very quick one. Just want to throw it out there because it was announced recently that Netflix is going to be doing a D&D show called The Forgotten Realms. Now,
live action or not?
I believe it's going to be live action. It's going to be it's being developed by Sean Levy. It's the director of the Deadpool movies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing more on it, seeing what it is. I'm a big D&D guy. For those who go over and check me out over on the Itchy app. But yeah, I mean, so I'm hoping it's gonna be good. I think that the movie that came out with Chris Pine, which one was it? I think it's the Pine. Yeah, I can't remember which Chris it was, but with Chris Pine, that movie was so good.
Really?
So good. If you
Can
have
I
not
stream
watched
it anywhere? I haven't seen it. But
I'm pretty sure it's on HBO.
Okay.
Or on Max or whatever they call it now.
I might watch it tonight.
That one is so good. And you can watch with the kids. It's not, outrageous, nothing like that, but it is just straight fun. The only joke they were missing, the one that I was even saying I'm looking for going in there, is I needed one character to die and then for the same actor to come back playing a different character. That was the one joke that would have it's a little fourth wall breaking.
That would have been
that's
great.
The one joke that I just thought would have been like the absolute, Easter egg for players and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we get more information soon. Hopefully it's not garbage, because let's not fool ourselves. Netflix doesn't have a great track record there for every last Bender avatar that they do, or last Airbender avatar show they do. There's also a Cowboy Bebop. So
they have there's this one show. I have to remember what it is. My son and I watched it. It's about a kid who can, I don't know. I'll figure it out in next podcast. We'll talk about it. Maybe we'll spend some time talking about our favorite shows, because I'm not big into like television, right? Like I'm the type of person, if I have an hour and a half, I'd rather play a video game. But
I'm a sitcom person. I like sitcoms because they're easy and they're stupid and, nothing too hard to think about.
Yeah.
I just put them on so I can have them in the background. Then I'm generally playing a game at the same time anyway. So
right. Exactly. Aye.
But one thing I didn't want to mention, if you are looking out there for D&D, you can check me out over on Tuesdays at 10. That's Pacific time, because I'm on the Pacific side. And over there, I do open sessions with viewers. You can hop in. We're starting off with 2024 D&D, or new D&D, whatever you want to call it. So come and check that out. And don't forget to catch my boy over here, Derek, Mr. Jericho, on Twitch, especially on Saturday. That's my favorite show. I'm gonna tell you the truth. That's where he mixes it up and generally does some indies and like stuff like that. Love him. I'm not a big indie person, but I love to watch him play some indies. So go and check him out over there. Again, it's on the Itchy app. So check us out there. Are we not allowed to say
Twitch? Can we say Twitch? Maybe we're not supposed to.
I think it affects something. I don't care that much one way or the other. I'm just figuring as long as it's in my brain, because I'll surely say it. I'll surely say Twitch plenty of times in the future. But while it's in my brain and it's functioning,
it's itchy.
I'll be mindful. It's itchy. It's itching my brain.
Probably get dropped down in the rankings whenever we say the word itchy.
Something like that. I think they don't share some more. I don't know the exact details, but whatever. But anyways, if you did enjoy, if you have any comments on anything, what do you think about the state of play? What do you think about, we got a Borderlands release date. There's some stuff going on with Warner Brothers and the games over there. Civilization 7, did you play it? What are your thoughts? Are you on my side and you just said, not for me? Or are you, finding what's in there? Are you looking forward to that new Overwatch update? And what do you think about maybe Mass Effect being games as a service? Let us know down below. Make sure to hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe. And anything else you got there for them there?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Just want to thank everybody for hanging out. We'd love to see you. Make sure you drop a line in the chat, because we're always looking for feedback as we're growing our channel and trying to improve the podcast. I mean, as you can see, today we switched the layout a little bit. I'm always looking to this side. He's always looking to the other side. We're like, we should at least be looking sort of in the same direction.
I realized we were talking to our walls.
Right. Yeah, so. Hey, Adam. How's it going, bud? Wait, no, it'd be this way. Hey, Adam. I don't even know. But hey, the point is we're trying, right? We're growing. We want to, we are receptive to feedback. If something doesn't make sense, or if you have any just general feedback, please don't hesitate to give it to us, either here or on our Itchy app. That's all I got.
Right. That's right. All right. So thank you so much. And we'll see y'all next time. And
see you in 2 weeks. Hey, is that in Monster Hunter Wilds in 2 weeks? That's going to be a good podcast.
Let's see.
It should be.
It will be. It'll be the weekend afterwards. So
we'll be
certainly
talking about
on
that
here.
for sure.
We'll probably look like we haven't had as much sleep.
We will not. Yeah, for sure. I might have some bags around my eyes.
And gaming news today. Oh God.
I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
Peace.